This podcast is produced by the Harwood Productions Podcast Network. To learn more about the network and to find more of our shows, visit us online at www.harwoodpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Helene Woods, and this is Let's Quilt, episode number 26. Today we're going to start making our tote, and I'm going to take and I'm going to cut the tote and the lining at the same time, and I think you can do that also. So I have my blue down here nice and smooth, and I'm going to put my lining on top of it. And I'm going to take a little quick cut down this side so I make a nice smooth straight line, and then I'm going to continue on cutting. Now my blue is a little bit behind there, but I can see that, so I'm just going to take it, I'm going to put this on a line, and I'm just going to cut this and square this side off, straighten it. We're going to need to cut out a 14 by 19 inch rectangle today for our tote and our lining. I have the one side cut here. Now I'm going to cut my other side. There. And then I'm going to cut it across the bottom. Now at this time, I'd like to show you a little trick, and we're going to make our tote, let me show you, have this nice corner here. It's a very simple thing to do, and I'll show you how you can do that. I'm taking a 2.5 inch square, just piece of paper. This is my bottom. On this bottom, I'd like for you to take that little 2.5 inch piece and put it right on the line that you have cut. And there again, I'm going to take my disappearing ink and I'm going to mark that like that. And I'm going to do it on both sides. Just like that. Now remember, I've got the lining and the outside of the tote here in one place. So I have those marked, then I'm going to just take my scissors and I'm going to cut these out. And I'd like to show you something that I had done with mine. I wanted to put a little pocket inside, so if I take it to the beach, I have a spot for my cell phone and things. So I've taken another contrasting fabric, and I'll show you how to do this. Put a little seam binding on the top, and then we will sew this onto just the lining itself. The pocket that I'm going to put inside the tote we're making is, I've measured it, and I've made it 5 by 7, and that seems like to be a good size. And if you wanted to sew a little seam up one side to make it a little snugger for your cell phone, you can do that. Do whatever you want to do. But I'm going to cut this out now. There. And see, that would go on the top, and you would just lay that right there. This is the piece of fabric that we have left over from after we cutting out our totes. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to cut it just like if we were going to be cutting a block. I'm going to bring it up to the selvage, straighten that, make it nice and straight as you can, and then I'm going to cut this, straighten this one side. Now we're going to measure 4.5 inches over, and we're doing this the width of the fabric, remember that. So you have a nice long strap. Those will be our straps. To add a little stiffness to our tote, I purchased some Pellon 809. I have the double thickness of my Pellon laid out here, and I'm going to lay just the tote fronts right on top of that, and I'm just going to cut them just like we did before. Now we just have this one more edge to go. And we'll cut out our little 2.5-inch squares too. I have my 2 tote fronts here and my 2 Pellon backings. We're going to fuse now, and I suggest that you go ahead and use whatever instructions that come with your Pellon. And we have our tote wrong side up. We put the Pellon on top of it, and you'll notice there's 2 surfaces on the Pellon. You're going to put the shiny side down. That will be your sticky side, and then I'm going to go ahead and fuse this. Now I fused this one, I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to fuse the other front. If you have any of the little white edges from the Pellon showing, you can just take your scissors and just cut those off. We're going to place our pocket on the front of the tote. Now, first thing you're going to have to do is find the center of your tote. So I've measured across here. I have 14 inches. So I'm going to place a pin at 7 inches. That is the center of my tote. Now we're going to measure down 3 inches. We'll place a pin there. I'm going to come over to the other side from my half mark and come down 3 inches, and I'm going to put a pin there also, that way. So we get that set up, then we're going to take our tote. Now this is the top of the bag. We're going to place those right there, and you have your center line on your block, so you can line that up with that, and you have your center line coming down here of the tote. So that is exactly where your square should go, or your block should go. So I'm going to pin that. I would pin it on all 4 sides. Now, we're going to have to remember that this side, which is the top side, we're going to leave that open. When we start to sew, I want you to come right up to the edge, and I want you to backstitch there a couple of times to make sure that that stays on really tight. And then the seam we're going to use is the seam where you turn, which is right here on the edge of your binding. And we'll just make one continuous seam all the way around. We come back up there again. We want to backstitch up here at this side also. I have the tote front all done now. We've got our pocket sewn on. Our next episode, we're going to sew the straps and sew the tote together. So until then,